Awesome. So, super excited to have everyone on the call. As we mentioned, we are going to be doing a Waco 70.3 recon. It's so funny. For some reason, I was thinking Waco is 2 weeks from today. So I was going to come on and be like, it's 2 weeks. It's not. It's 3 weeks. So congratulations. You have one more week. But still a great opportunity for us to kind of go through, talk through race weekend events, both team events, and then just kind of a rundown of what the weekend looks like if you haven't been before. And then we're also going to go through and talk through the swim, bike, and run course. We have a lot of coaches on here that have done this race, coached athletes at this race, been at this race. And so you have a wealth of knowledge here. If there's something that we don't cover and you have a question on it, or maybe you just have a generalized question in regards to racing at 70.3, anything like that, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can raise your hand if you want. And we definitely want to make sure that we address those. So I do have a little presentation that we'll pull up and we'll go through. So we'll kind of walk through. So race weekend, it really starts on Friday. The only thing that's really happening on Friday is athlete check-in. And then they do have athlete briefing at 3 and 5. I really like this race because everything is like very close together. So you have like transition area, which is right across the street from like Ironman Village and all of that stuff. So it is a nice setup of the race. Everything's very closely together. But on Friday, if you get in on that day, they will have athlete check-in till 7. And then if you want to go to one of the athlete briefings, if you've never done a 70.3 before, it is nice to go to an athlete briefing. I would say if you've done a 70.3 before, actually any Ironman race, they're all the same, candidly, and he says the same jokes, and like it's fun. But I don't think you'd miss anything in regards to what we're going to cover tonight. So you can kind of you take that on Friday if you want. If you don't make it on Friday, that's totally okay. I'm going to jump to the Saturday athlete schedule real quick, then we'll go back to the shakeout details. But athlete check-in, you have to check in on Saturday if you don't check in on Friday. They have that open from 9 to 4. Again, they'll have 2 other opportunities if you want to do athlete briefing. It's all in the same area at 12 and 2. And then bike drop-off is at transition, which is just right across the street from Ironman Village, and that is from 10 to 5. And that is where you will drop your bike off for the day. You'll get your timing chip if you don't get it at athlete check-in. Every race has been a little different in how they're handling that this year. But really, we'll walk through kind of what you want to do in transition morning. But really, the only thing you want to do is drop your bike off. I wouldn't leave bottles on there. I wouldn't obviously put your bike computer, anything like that. Everything else that you're going to need for race day, bring that with you on race morning. The other thing that we do have going on Saturday is we'll do a shakeout run. If you're familiar with Waco, there used to be a place called Bicycle World, and it's no longer open, but we're going to meet in that parking lot. If you were there last year, it's the same place. If you have not been to Waco before, it is like probably 100 yards from Ironman Village. So I put the actual address there, and we're going to send an email out after this with all the information as well. But we're going to meet there at 8 a.m. It's not like a hard shakeout. It's probably 20, 30 minutes, run down, do some drills and things like that, run back. Our coaches that will be at Waco will be there. So if you have any last minute questions, if there's anything that comes up that you want to talk through, coaches will be there and are absolutely happy to help answer any questions. And then Raw has been in the works of creating gels for, I know, over a year now, and they're going to have some gels that will be ready to hand out for those of you that attend. So could be another great opportunity to get your hands on raw gels before everyone else. And then the only other thing on Saturday is we do a team dinner. This is going to be at Coach Mike's house. Again, I'm going to send out the link to RSVP and also his address after the call this week. That's at 6 p.m. If you've been to a team dinner, especially one that's been hosted by Chris Gomez, please come and please bring your family and friends. There's so much food. There's so much space. I guarantee you any dietary restriction that you have or anything like that, it will be accommodated here. Just a really great opportunity fellowship. Again, a good opportunity to kind of check in with teammates or check in with coaches right before race. It's totally come and go. You do not have to stay there very long. If you just want to literally come in, eat, and leave, then you have the freedom to do that. But we would love to see you there. And again, I'll send out the RSVP link after this. Okay, let's talk through race day. So transition opens at 5 a.m. Again, we'll have coaches that are located outside of transition and to help answer questions, and then also at swim start. One thing about this race that I always like to mention and that we always try to really instill is you're walking essentially a mile to swim start. So make sure that you're allocating that time because it is a 0.2 swim. So you're going to walk to the start, to the swim start, and then you will swim pretty much down to transition. So you're going to want to make sure that you allocate enough time for that walk. So I kind of start to work backwards, if race starts at, 6:37 or whatever, no later than 6:30 do you need to be walking, just so you have time to get there. You have time to kind of settle in, line up where you plan on seating in. And we'll talk about the swim here and to start it in a second, but just make sure that you allocate enough time for that. And again, coaches will be at swim start as well. And it's not hard to navigate to swim start. Just follow the mass of people and I promise you'll get there. Maybe should have talked about this a second ago, but just some pre-race day tips for fueling. Waco's always kind of weird because it's in Texas in October. You really never know what you're going to get in terms of weather. Last year it was pretty warm. In years past it hasn't been, but regardless, it's still really important. 48 hours, 24 hours before the race, really start focusing on your hydration, especially if you are going to be carb loading. You definitely want to make sure that you are getting enough hydration to keep your digestive system moving and also so that you don't feel super sluggish. So make sure that you're focusing on hydration. Even more so if you're going to be walking around outside on Friday around Ironman Village or on Saturday, make sure that you're staying on top of that. If you are doing a carb load, you definitely can talk to your coach about, this and timing of this and when the best time to start this. These are just kind of generalized guidelines. Typically that looks like having 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you're going to want to take your body weight, transition that into kilograms, and then, calculate your carb goal from there. Ideally, meal timing, especially the day before, have a bigger breakfast, have a good sized lunch, and then usually having an earlier dinner can just help you not go to bed with a super full stomach, which sometimes can cause you not to sleep super great. And then it also allows your body to have plenty of time to digest because you're going to be getting up super early. You want to make sure that you can, do all the human things that you need to do in the morning before race. So that just kind of stick with that with meal timing. And if you have questions on that, definitely reach out to your coach and we're happy to help you navigate that. And then same thing with electrolytes. Hydration is not just water. Hydration is water and electrolytes. And especially if it's a warmer day and that you are a sweaty person, you want to make sure that you're preloading a little bit so that race morning you don't have any issues. And then lastly, just resting. Especially if it's going to be warm on race weekend, don't be outside a whole bunch on Saturday. Stay inside when you can. There's no use in just like being in the heat and, just try to be smart essentially. All right. So going back to race morning. So get to transition early, make sure you have plenty of time. We always say bring a headlamp. In years past, this is actually a very well lit transition area. I know last year they had more floodlights, so it was a little bit easier in regards to navigating transition area and everything. But definitely know where your bike is, know where you're going to come in from the swim, know where you're going to go for bike out, and honestly take note of those things whenever you do bike drop off. You just kind of want to have a mental game plan. Transition sometimes can be like, I always think it's like a time warp. Time doesn't exist in transition. Sometimes your brain doesn't exist in transition. So just make sure that you have a good plan that you've thought through in regards to navigating, in regards to setting up your transition area, all of those things, so that it's just less of a logistical, burden for you to have to think through race weekend and race day. Again, I would continue to sip on water and electrolytes, maybe have fuel in your bottle or a gel that you're going to have before race, whichever it is, but you absolutely don't want to run out of fluids before race day. They don't always have like tables set up either of like water or anything like that at Swim Start. And so even if it's just a bottle that you're going to toss or you're going to hand to a coach or put in your morning clothes bag or whatever, you'd rather have it than not. And then kind of going through and again, thinking through what's going to be your transition checklist. So you're going to make sure that you bring your fuel and all your bottles. Again, you don't want to leave those on your bike overnight. So bring those with you on race morning. Make sure that your tires are pumped. I always like to say, make sure to put your bike in gear of what gear you want to start in. You do not want to put it in too high of a gear and, you're kind of wobbling and you're trying to start and your bike's in too high of a gear. So kind of think through that as you're doing your bike check. Make sure that your bike computer's on, everything's connected sensor wise and everything. Obviously make sure you have your run shoes and everything that you're going to need for the run. If you're going to wear socks, quick laces, if that's what you're doing, make sure that they're loosened enough so that you can slip them on. And then, salt and electrolytes, which would kind of go with your fuel, just making sure that you have everything laid out and everything with you. I kind of like to pack all of that the day before. So then on race morning, you're not having to fuel or, have your breakfast and everything and then pack all your stuff as well. Pack that the night before and then in the morning, just grab it and take it with you. And then, as we mentioned, it is about a 15-20 minute walk. I always think, too, that's a great time to kind of warm up, jog a little bit, do some lunges, nothing crazy, but it is a good opportunity just to kind of wake your body up, shake out the jitters, things like that. They have the morning clothes bag drop off at Swim Start. So, wear shoes that are going to be comfortable to walk in for at least a mile. Don't wear flip-flops. You'll regret it. Don't be barefoot. Absolutely don't be barefoot. And you can either put that in the morning clothes bag or hand it off to family whenever you are at Swim Start. Always good idea also to bring extra chafe cream for your neck and your body, whether that is for under your race kit or if it does end up being wetsuit legal. I haven't seen what the water temp is right now, but they'll probably start posting that here pretty quickly. You're going to want to make sure that you have some chafe cream for that, just for your neck and anywhere where it could rub. If it is wetsuit legal, allocate that time as well for putting on your wetsuit. Usually it takes 5 to 10 minutes to really make sure it's pulled up, especially around your waist, around your shoulders. Again, coaches will be there and we can kind of help, really get you in there well so that you don't have any issues. But just make sure that you're ready for that on race morning. Okay, before we get into the course, I know that was a lot and I know I've been talking a lot. Any questions or anything, coaches, that I missed that we didn't cover here? And yeah, Rob, that's a great point. The swim corral, it's crazy how tight the swim corral area actually is. You're pretty much the width of a sidewalk. So you're going to want to make sure that you do allocate that time to line up where you want to. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, there's some sort of like really prickly, I don't know if it's called like a dog tail or something, that all around the ground at the race start. make sure you have your flip-flops there because there's no place to stand. Yeah, stickers are awful. So make sure you have something to stand on. And I've been caught pretty much every single year, like really hurting my feet before the race even starts.
Yeah, that's a great point. Don't, get an infection or a sticker or anything like that before the race. And they don't always have carpet down, even where like you queue in for, like for the corral. So usually, again, it's like cement or something that you're on. So just be mindful of what you're stepping in, all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to cover the swim course, and then I promise you don't have to hear me talk anymore. So the swim course is pretty straightforward. It is a rolling age group start, just like every other Ironman sanctioned race right now. They seed you in 5 at a time every 5 seconds. The way that it works is you actually kind of stand on this, it's I guess it's like a dock, and then you jump off. It's not like a big jump. You're not like diving or anything like that, but you're just going to kind of jump into the water. You're not going to wade into the water or anything like that. The time allocation that you have for the swim is 1 hour and 10 minutes. And again, I do like this swim course, candidly, because there's so many like landmark things that you can do in regards to ticking off the distance. So there's a bunch of trees along. There's also 4 bridges. I think it's 3 or 4 that you swim under. And I know when I've done this in the past, sometimes counting buoys is nice, but you see a massive bridge and it's just like, just get to the bridge. Okay, just get to the bridge. And so that could be another good tool for you, and kind of look at those things as you are walking to swim start, just so that you can kind of see some of those landmark things to think through. Yeah, you're pretty much just swimming. I don't really think there's a current with this race, even though you're swimming, technically downriver. I don't ever think there's a current, but if you want to hear that there's a current, there's absolutely a current. It's so fast, you're going to swim so fast. But again, it's pretty straightforward. You'll get in, I don't know if y'all can see my little pointer, but you will kind of swim out, make a hard turn around the red buoy, and then it literally is just a straight shot. I always like to mention too, whenever you get out of the water, you're going to run up a massive ramp. And it's kind of like windy, so you're kind of disoriented anyways, getting out of the water after swimming for so long, and then you're vertical immediately, and then you're running uphill. So just kind of be prepared for that. It's not very long or far or anything like that, but it is just kind of I guess, another unique charm of this race. As you're heading into T1, again, so you'll run up this ramp, and then you'll actually run across the street to transition. That is usually carpeted because you are running actually over the road. But I think it's probably one of the best parts of the race. Tons of people congregate there. You can kind of, if you're wanting splits, then, coaches can be there, and they can easily get those for you, or we can get them for you if you're bike out, if that's something that you do want. But it's, you'll get up, come over. Whenever you're exiting the water, again, your heart rate usually is slightly elevated. Just kind of be prepared for that. Just taking a few deep breaths once you get there. If it is wetsuit legal, wait to take your wetsuit off, obviously, until you are at transition. It hasn't been wetsuit legal in like the past 2 years, I think. So they haven't had wetsuit strippers, but if it is wetsuit legal and they do have strippers there, and that's something you want to take advantage of, what I always recommend is pulling it down to your waist. And then whenever you get to a stripper, just sit on your butt and just let them rip it off. And that's going to be the fastest way to get in and out with them. And then kind of like we talked about, know where you're going. You're going to come in from swim out. You're going to have rows and rows of bikes. Know what your bike row is, know where you're going. The best thought out transition is the fastest one. And then again, kind of knowing where you're going to take your bike and go out for the bike start. Okay, anything that I missed before we move on to the bike course? Awesome. Okay, Coach Alex, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see you guys. I'm in Paris after the World Championships today. So a bunch of fantastic results from the NVDM crew. So I hope everyone was watching that. We had the Norwegian sweep, which was great to see. So congratulations to all NVDM athletes. And great job on the recap there, Ashton. I think a ton of great tips. This course has changed quite a bit over the years. So if you've done this course before, please pay attention because the bike course has changed. If you remember in the past, they kind of ride you through a residential neighborhood, and it's kind of known for having tacks on the ground. And that just shows that the local community wasn't really that excited to welcome Ironman athletes into their little neighborhood. So they've moved the bike course. The key to the bike course is that they ride you through some pretty rural area, which is away from the neighborhoods. And then at mile 29, please pay attention to this, is probably the middle third of the race. You hit this road, and last year it was just newly chip sealed. And they found the biggest, chunkiest, sharpest chip seal that they could possibly find. And from mile 29 to about mile 42, I'd say, you're riding on what equates to about a gravel road. Last year, this probably took out 10% of the field with flats with different issues. So really good things to remember is make sure you have rubber bands or some sort of really good bottle cage on your bike to make sure your bottles are strapped down. There's a ton of bottles that had flown out, just all sorts of carnage. And then, we all ride in Texas. We all ride in Central Texas. So we're pretty used to the chip seal. Mentally, it could be really tough when you hit this at mile 29 because you're just starting to feel that first, bit of lactic hitting your legs. You're getting kind of tired. So mentally make sure that you're prepared to say like, hey, this middle part of the course is fun. Like this is a gravel portion and I'm going to pass a ton of people here. So you'll come back out, it's uphill to the turnaround, and then you'll have a little climb coming out of the turnaround as well. So it's up, down, and then back into the finish. As with every course, and especially Waco, this course is death by 1,000 cuts. There's lots of little climbs in this, and it's so easy to get excited in those first, 28 miles. And start getting out of your saddle, start, burning matches. And that's fine. Like if you're going to try to catch a group or pass some cyclists, but just make sure that you only have so many matches. And every time you burn a match, you're leaving one less for the second half of this course, which is pretty demanding. So make sure that you're saving some matches for the second half of the course. And of course you have a half marathon after this. So I think that's probably a pretty good segue to the run course. And Ashley, you want me to jump in on the run course too?
Megan is going to cover the run. Sorry,
Awesome.
My screen kind of froze there for a second.
And Megan, I don't know, I was looking at it. It looks like they fixed that little area down by the stadium this year. They had us like running stadium last year. So just heads up, but I think you got that. So.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to hop in too. I mean, I don't mind. I've only done this race twice, 2022, I think, and then last year. So the run course typically stays about the same. They don't hardly ever change it. If it is a hot, day, it can be a very hot run course. So you have to just be mindful of ice in the left hand, water over the head. What is your fueling, right? But I would say when you come out of transition, you make a right, you kind of go downhill, and then you make a left. And you're basically on the same road as you were walking to the swim start. So as you're going straight down, you get to like the end of the road, and then there's actually a climb. This run course is like half hilly, half flat, and there's a little bit of false flat. So, it's a pretty steep climb up to the second mile. So you want to make sure, kind of like what Alex is saying, like don't burn a match at mile 2. If you already burnt some matches on the bike, don't burn it on mile 2 of the run, because 9 to 13 will be very, very rough. So you want to just kind of stay steady going up the hill, and then it kind of curves around. You have an aid station up there, and then you come all the way back down the hill. And then you make a right, you go up like a small other little hill, and then it kind of curves around, kind of curves back around a little bit, and then you kind of go, you kind of go through like wooded area. So it's one of these run courses where you like go around and then down and back up and around again. So kind of like mini juts out and back. So I would say the first 5 miles are a bit hilly. And then after that, it flattens out pretty well. And what Alex is talking about is that you'll go under the bridges out to the stadium. You'll get like on the canal part. And as you go under those bridges, like one of the bridges will be where the finish line is. And then there's another bridge that you crossed with swimming. And so when you get out over by the stadium portion, you've got like another out and back kind of, it's a small hill over like a mini bridge. But the stadium part is where it gets kind of hairy, where you have like, it was like rock and gravel, right, Alex? And so like your feet can kind of, if you're in carbon shoes, like you hit it and you're just, and it's not for very long, but I don't think they have that portion there. It's going to be more or less more concrete. So you go out that way and you wind around, and it's not shaded. Not like, I would say the only shaded part, I believe, is roughly like miles 3 through 5. Oh, there's no hill this year. Okay. So yeah, it's a 2-loop course. It can be a fast run course. I actually had a pretty fast run there last year. So yeah, I mean, just kind of be mindful of the hills so you don't burn more of the matches. Make sure that you stay cool on the run. If you feel like you're overworking, then you probably are. So you just kind of want to slow down and take your time. But all the aid stations are pretty, I would say most of the aid stations are pretty well stocked, except for the back ones by the stadium. And I have no idea why that is. They only have maybe like 4 or 5 people back there, and you kind of have to grab for your own stuff. So if they aren't handing things out, then just make sure you're paying attention that you have to grab some of your own stuff. And then Alex, help me here. So like the last part, you go up a small hill and then like through the grass, and then you cross over into the bridge and you finish on the bridge, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think and you nailed it, but the things to note on that is they cut out the whole stadium portion, and then you'll be coming up, and that last suspension bridge is actually as far as you go downriver.
Okay.
And then they added a portion that's like up north a little bit, but I think you totally hit the key points. It's like, it's not shaded, it's hot. The hills are going to be running over the bridges. And then, you got to really manage your effort on this course, because at mile 9, as Megan said, like you're going to start feeling that heat. So really manage your heat the entire time. And Megan, I didn't mean to cut you off. If I did, I thought you're having me jump in.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Because the 1 year I did it when it rained, part of the run course was different because we were out by the highway. So it's been just a little bit different, but for the most part, the centralized part of it's pretty much the same. There's a lot of people out there too. It's very, I don't know, I think it's a family friendly run course in my opinion. So yeah, I would just say if it's hot, be mindful of that. I've raced in the rain there before and it's been cool. So be prepared for anything is what I would recommend. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Dre had a great tip too. Wearing a hat and putting ice in it, ice in your kit, wherever, ice in your hands. Be greedy through the aid stations. I mean, especially if you're really feeling it. And I would say going back to the bike course as well, there's not a lot of shade on the bike course. And so again, you're kind of just out there baking. So making sure that you're staying on top of hydration and all of those things, because if you get behind, it's very hard to catch back up, especially if it's going to be a warm day. So just be mindful of some of those things. But yes, they have changed this course every year since 2022. So, I think they've been trying to perfect it. I guess we'll see this year if they got it or not. Those racing will be interested to hear your feedback on what you think. But I think this year it does look to be a little bit more friendly, especially on the run course. So we'll see.
I would also just recommend not looking at your watch really the first 5-6 miles of the run, because you're in the trees. So your GPS is like all over the place. So it'll mentally really get to you.
That is a fantastic point. Because it's not going to be accurate. Whenever you're running in Cameron Park, it does look wonky. So yes, thank you for mentioning that. That's a good point. Awesome, guys. Anything else? Last chance, any coaches or questions? We're going to send this presentation out so that you have a copy of it. We're also going to send out the RSVP link for the team dinner. Again, we have 3 weeks, so maybe this is super great. If you think of something that you have questions on, then let us know. Zachary, that's a great question in regards to clear goggles. I like to do clear goggles, especially because it is a little bit darker on race morning, and the way that the sun comes up is it's actually not really in your face. And so the water's not clear here either. Let me just be clear. This water is dirty and gross. So clear goggles, I would say, is definitely the way to go. Awesome, guys. Well, if y'all don't have anything else, we will let y'all go. We appreciate you. And again, we'll send this out so everybody has a copy of it. And we'll see you at race weekend. Have a great week.